Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we are going to be using the Onelaser XRF 38 watt RF tube laser machine. Now, today is a project that you could be making on this laser machine yourself. Now, a quick disclaimer, I am not a pro, I am not an expert, I am just a beginner when it comes to lasering. So everything that I do is a learning process, and it is just step by step as I go and showing you guys things that I do on this laser machine and in my laser hobbying world that you could definitely do as well. So this here I got from Etsy for $1.57, and it was this money box SVG that you could buy for $1.57, super cheap, and then upload it into Lightburn and cut straight to your machine. Now, I have yet to figure out the perfect settings for my timber and my materials. I'm pretty good with acrylic, but when it comes to timber, I am yet to figure out exactly what the best settings are going to be for the avoidance of that. It's like charring. It's a residue that comes from the timber of when you do cut and engrave on the laser machine. So when I'm engraving, I don't get that, off burning, charring, whatever it is a sticky, tacky residue coming from the timber. But when I do cut, I still get it. So I'm yet to figure that out. So if you have any tips, let me know. I do know you can turn air assist off and it avoids it completely, but at the same time as well, to cut, you do need to have it at a higher power, and sometimes it can catch fire. Despite the fact that this machine has air assist, I still haven't yet to figure it out. So any tips is greatly appreciated, but this is just what I'm doing and the steps that I've taken to create this. So I'm doing a Batman engrave, and I've got all of the SVGs straight from that file that I purchased. Now, I've got the green little tabs on the outside of the box. I've got that set to 20 millimeters per second and 99% for power. Now, this is a recommended cutting speed, as you can see here in the bottom corner, from Onelaser themselves. So again, the note down the bottom says that these aren't, obviously the exact settings, they're recommended settings, and you can play from there. So I've got it at 20 millimeters per second for the speed and 99% for power, and I'm fine with that. I did add a kerf of 0.13 for those green tabs because I obviously want the slots to be able to, the pieces to be put together. Now, when it comes to my engraving, I've got it set at 1200 millimeters per second and 70% for power. It does recommend, I think, 50% power for your engraving, but I've upped it a little bit because I wanted to go a little bit deeper. Even though I should have probably kept it at 50, as you can see here. The engrave is beautiful. It turns out fantastic, but because I've obviously gone deeper into the timber, I've hit some grains of the 3mm plywood that I'm using here. And at the same time as well, my 3mm plywood, when it came, it was bowed. So you can go ahead and flatten it out the best you can in the machine with magnets, but I raise it a little bit so that I don't get any flashback on the underside when I cut it. So the reason why you can see the bottom of Batman is a little bit darker than the rest of him is because I have a slight bow in my material. And when I cut it later on again, it's the same thing. I have a bow in the edges, so everything cut perfectly except some spots, just simply because of the height difference between, one spot to the other end of where the material was bowing, and that is the material's fault, not the laser whatsoever. Now, I know everybody does love to know how long this took to engrave. I honestly couldn't tell you. It was just a few minutes. I did speed this up, obviously, but compared to previous machines that I've used, it was incredibly fast. Now, I think that this came out looking super realistic. I absolutely love it. Obviously, like I said, I went higher in percentage in my power, so I got a little bit deeper in the timber, and a little bit more of those imperfections in the timber came out naturally. Now, going in for my line on the outside of the box, I'm doing 20 millimeters per second for the speed and 99% power. And again, you can see here I've got a lot of that charring and a lot of that residue off on the cutting, but I'm figuring it out, and the backside is absolutely perfect. There is no flashback because I've raised the actual material off the bed, but this comes off so easy. So you can use some vinegar and wipe it off, or you can sand it. In this case, I decided to sand it because I ran out of vinegar. And look, again, I am just a beginner. And this is just for home. If you were to make this product and sell it at a craft fair or wherever it might be a market, then you would do things a little bit differently to me. But as just a hobbyist, this is a great idea for a product to sell. But it's also really great just to play around with and have fun and make it at home. So I sanded my pieces after I had gone ahead and cut them. And my sander is pretty damn intense. It has some serious high speed, so I did gouge at my material, and because my sanding piece is actually red, it left some red color in my timber, so that's great for me. Now, as you can see here in that corner, that is what I was talking about. With the bowing in the actual material as it came, that's where it got stuck, but I just pushed it out and it was totally fine. I do wish that I could get rid of all that sticky residue that is blowing all over my timber, but look, I'm figuring it out. I will get there, I swear. But here it is. The inside looks amazing, and I will be using the inside of the cut timber as the outside, and I'll go ahead and sand all of that right off. But aside from that, it turned out absolutely perfect, and I love those little grooves. They're just little slits that allow you to curve and bend the timber. Now I'm using a 3mm clear acrylic. I've taken off the top brown paper because sometimes it, sets alight quite easily. Sometimes it doesn't because obviously it's paper. And I'm going to be using a bit of a higher setting here for my acrylic this time. So I've gone ahead and updated my overlay for my camera control so I can see my material in the machine itself and just moving it onto wherever my material is in the machine on Lightburn because I have that overlay. So you can see there I'm going ahead in the screen, I'm autofocusing to my material. Now, one thing I have forgotten to tell you guys is that every time you have a new piece of material in there, or every time you make a new cut or engrave, you do need to autofocus that again because you will regret it if you don't, because you will be cutting from a random distance. So the power I'm using is 70% for this cut and 20 millimeters per second for the speed, and it cut through absolutely perfectly. So I had not too many lines in the edges. It was pretty fast. As you can see, this is real-time speed here. It does feel like it takes a long time, I guess, when you're watching it back over, but when you are literally there doing this project, it is so quick. Now, apologies about my camera. It goes in and out of focus because I don't actually lift the lid up when I am cutting because I like to watch the controlled quality of the air on the machine. So to do that, you need to keep the lid closed to see what the quality of the air is going to be inside of the machine. And of course, it just pops out super easy. And now the fun part begins of getting to put together our money box. So once I've got everything cut ready to go, I've sanded everything down. You'll see in just a second that I have gone ahead and look at Batman's nose. I've absolutely gouged it out and it's red now. So, but this is for my partner. So he does not care. He was super impressed and this was really fun to make. And it's just a great craft project idea and something if you perfect over time with your work and crafting, you can sell online or in stores or at the market, wherever it might be. So for the acrylic, I'm going to be using Weldon. I originally tried to use just super glue, but obviously being clear acrylic, you can see the super glue through the acrylic, whereas Weldon, I didn't actually think it would work when it comes to the acrylic on timber, but it worked perfectly. So this is a really thin type of glue, and it is so fast, let me tell you that. If you get this in the wrong spot real quick, you're going to know about it because you ain't going to get it off. So basically, I get a paintbrush and I run it around the edges of where the acrylic is, and it applies to the timber as well. So you can see when I'm applying it, it looks wet and it looks like you're going to stain the timber, but this stuff dries down absolutely clear and you cannot see it, which is really good for if you're having two pieces of clear acrylic stuck together. You can literally put this across the seams of the two pieces of acrylic and it'll weld it together and adhere together perfectly without any glue residue being visible in your product. I just found this Weldon online. I think it was like $40 for a tin, and it is going to last me forever because you don't need a lot of this stuff. Now I've gone ahead and given the inside of the money box a clean because once I put it together, I don't want to have to reopen it just to clean it for any lint or any dust that might have gotten on there. And this is the easy part, going ahead and assembling it by attaching the outside of the money box that we cut to the actual front and back pieces of our money box. And because I had that 0.13 millimeters for my curve, and that's outwards, I'm able to easily slot these pieces together just like that. Now, because obviously the timber, you can stretch it on those corners, you just pull it up and over and pop it into place. Now, I did end up gluing one side down and I put it underneath Batman, and you can see it at the end, but whatever. Again, everything you do with crafting and creating is all about learning lessons. So I glued one side down so that I was able to have one side that slots in nicely and doesn't come open, but can then also open it later on to remove all the money. This money box turned out amazing to me, in my opinion, because again, a beginner. So for a first time, it's great to me. aside from the few minor defects of I stuffed up on the glue, I over sanded, and yeah. I mean, if you see something else, go ahead and say it. But that, to me, that's all there is. But looking from afar, it is absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, cameras pick up everything. And I mean, look, he's got a red nose Batman. But it turned out amazing. And you can fit any size coin into this money box and note. So this is a really fun, creative, crafty project that you can do at home on the Onelaser XRF 38-watt laser machine, or something that you can perfect over time to sell at the markets or online on Etsy. And when you can buy the actual SVG online ready to go for $1.57, how can you go wrong? Thank you guys so much for staying around this entire time for this crafty project. I hope you learned something today or sparked some ideas and interest in lasering in the laser world. Be sure to check out my link in the description box below, because it really does help me when you guys click on that link for Onelaser if you are interested in the machine and knowing more. See you next time.